Rumi said, this ancient Persian poet, brilliant, beautiful poet, he said, sell your cleverness and purchase bewilderment. It feels like bewilderment. It feels like awe. It feels like, even as I think about it now, I can feel myself tearing up behind my eyes, because only I know what is going on behind my eyeballs. It feels like so glorious and so sweet and so trusting, so knowing. You know, there's just this powerful knowing that you're not alone. There's this, you know, that it's like there's a safety, there's a sense of that you're not alone. I had this great experience years ago. There's a friend of mine, he's on KTAR, a radio station in Phoenix. His name's Pat McMahon, Irish Catholic guy. And Mother Teresa is to be his guest, right, on the same day that I'm his guest. So we're in the studio, you know, and Mother Teresa comes in. Now she's about 4'10", maybe weighs 80 pounds. And she's there to talk about a homeless shelter that she slept in the night before, to tell the people of Phoenix about this homeless shelter. And I'm there to talk about a book that I don't know which one it was. It was 10, 15 years ago. So Pat tells Mother Teresa, is there anything that I can do for you? And you can imagine the bewilderment and the awe that this is an Irish Catholic guy from, living in Phoenix, and Mother Teresa, a saint, is coming there, and he's just bewildered. He's beyond bewildered. He just doesn't know what to do with himself. He's just so honored, and he says, "Is there anything I can do for you? Is there anything I can do?" And she said, "No." She said, I just came here to talk about the homeless shelter. He said, but Mother Teresa, he said, we have a 50,000 watt clear channel station that goes in every direction. And it's like he's got his ego involved. Like we can help you to raise a lot of money for your work and your mission in Calcutta. And she said, no, I'm not interested in raising money or your radio station getting all. She said, I just want to talk about the homeless shelter, that's all. And he's exasperated. And finally he's down on his knees. Really. And finally she says, stand up. She said, you seem so serious. She said, there is one thing that you can do. And he just stood up and he said, well, what is it? I'd do anything. She said, well, tomorrow morning, she said, get up at 4 a.m. And she said, and go out onto the streets of Phoenix and find someone who's living there, who believes that he's alone, and convince him that he's not. That's what you can do. And behind the feeling we're talking about here is this feeling of aloneness for so many people who are lost in the world, that I don't have like a connection to something greater than myself. I've come to believe that who I am is what I do, and what I have, and what other people think about me, and who I am is separate from everybody else, and who I am is separate even from what I'd like to attract into my life, that I'm separate from all the things that are missing, and I'm separate even from God, and that there's a place within me that knows that I'm not separate from any of that, that if there's no place that God is not, or that source is not, or that the energy that provides, that is always giving and always creating is not, if there's no place that it is not, then it has to be in me. I know that. And if there's no place that is not, and it has to be in me, it has to be also in everything that is missing in my life, or that I think is missing. It's there too. So that in some mysterious, invisible way, I'm already connected to everything that's missing in my life through something called spirit. And when I recognized that I'm not here as this human being having a spiritual experience, when you recognize that your essence is that you are a spiritual being having a human experience, not the other way around, when you really get that, I mean, not that you can say it and it's clever, but when you know that who you are is this essence, you don't see, there's no other, there's no them. There's nothing outside of you. You're connected to everyone and everything. As the Native Americans, you'd say that no tree has branches so foolish as to fight among themselves.
How can you surrender and let go and become detached from the outcome and the stuff that you seek after in your life, how can you do that and still have the things that you want come into your life? How does that paradox work? One of the things that I have learned in my own speaking is to let go of the outcome, to be unconcerned with the reaction and what's in it for me, and indeed to just surrender. And in my meditation before I speak, I always repeat the mantra endlessly over and over again, and I find myself doing this more and more in my life, and something that I urge you to do. I ask the question, how may I serve? Just, how may I serve? How may I serve? How may I serve? There are 1,000 people there. How may I serve them? It's like getting the focus off of what's in it for me and how do I look and whether I say the right thing and whether people like what I say and whether they buy things that I have or whatever. And instead, like letting all of that go. Just letting that go. And getting the focus of your life, the centeredness of your life on this business of serving. And the irony of it is that when you get to that point where you're able to do it and let go of that outcome, all of the stuff that you chased after and worked so hard for and figured you had to have back here begins to chase after you and show up in your life. And it isn't you're no longer on the treadmill. It's like a surrendering. And so that's what I do when I come on stage. And it's almost as if God says to me, it's like, as long as you stay on purpose, you'll never stumble. And you'll know what to say. And when you get off of that, you shift your alignment away from that, then you won't be able to do what you're doing. And the same thing happened in the writing of this Real Magic. For the first time in my life, I experienced what I have come to call automatic writing, where I left home and went off to Maui and sat down and in 8 weeks' time just produced this book without any struggle whatsoever, not one moment of struggle. And it just seemed to be there, and it seemed to flow. And I can type, like when I sit down and type a letter or a contract or anything that I might have to put out on a typewriter, I'm one of these kind of typists. And I just look around. I can do it rather quickly, but I have never had the formal training in typing. But when I write at this little typewriter, I can go along and close my eyes and write at 70 and 80 words a minute when you get into that automatic. And I can't tell you how I do that, because I had completely let go. And I wasn't concerned with whether the editors liked it, how it came out, whether or not it was a bestseller, whether people were going to buy it, whether the reviews were going to be. Nothing. It was like very, very peaceful. And it's a very peaceful place that I'm asking you to look at and get to in your own life.
I learned to do it about 10 years ago when I really honed this, and that was when I was speaking in Houston. There were about 3,500 people who had all paid a lot of money to come and hear me, and it was an evening with Wayne Dyer. And I had all my notes all arranged in exactly the way I wanted to, and everything was just exactly perfect. I was backstage doing the pacing that you do before you go on, and the meditating and the breathing, and the just getting yourself relaxed, and the sort of divine guidance that you're seeking. And I realized that I didn't have my notes. They were gone.
Yes.
And they were back in the hotel room, which was 30 minutes away, and I was going on in 10 minutes. So I walked out on stage without any notes for the first time, and I surrendered. In that 10-minute period of time, I just said, all right, you know what you're doing, and you know how to do it, and you're good at this, and you're here for a reason, and there are 3,501 people in this room, and you're the one who's speaking, and 3,500 have paid to come and hear you. There must be a reason for that, and so get on purpose, get off of your outcome, get off of how well you do, get off of how much money you're being paid, get off of all of that, and get on to what are you here for?
Yeah.
And you're here to improve the quality of life for somebody else. That's all you can do. When you leave this planet, the measure of your life won't be in what you accumulated. Yeah. It will be in what you gave. Since you can't get anything anyway, it's in giving. So I surrendered, and that was the beginning for me of surrendering. I've never used notes since in my life. It's not that I'm not prepared. I meditate before, and I know what I want to do.
See, what you have to learn is that I read a wonderful line when I was down in Australia by an actress. was talking, and she concluded it with, she said, if you want to make God laugh, tell her your plans. See, God's plan works, essentially, and yours doesn't. Basically. It's like becoming a spiritual being really means shifting away from your plans and allowing yourself into this divine perfection.